A buyer calls us on the worst day of their life, finding out that their life savings was in the wind, and we've been able to bring back over $100 million.
The Weekly Friedman, your source for the most essential information in the default industry, with your host, Adam Friedman.
Today we're talking about a major issue in default services and real estate in general, wire fraud. Whether it's a fraudulent payoff, reinstatement, or intercepted closing funds, wire fraud can create major problems. We're going to be joined today by Tyler Adams, CEO and co-founder of CertifID, a company that's dedicated to assisting businesses both avoid and protect against wire fraud and recover when things go wrong. All right, so Tyler, let's jump right in, right? So everyone's heard of wire fraud, but what happens in a transaction? Like, what are you normally seeing?
So when we think about wire fraud in the way in which we experience it today, it really starts with a scam called business email compromise, which actually starts with a scam that we all most regularly know as phishing. So fraudsters are deploying emails by the millions every single day to get people to click on links and give up credentials that ultimately lead to someone accessing an email inbox. Once they have access to that email inbox, they're typically putting in mail forwarding rules or AI listening tools, trying to extract information as it pertains to movements of money or large transactions or invoices being paid. And when they see that and they know that there is going to be a transaction to take place, they then insert themselves. They might create lookalike emails, lookalike websites, lookalike LinkedIn profiles, trying to create a portfolio that makes them look trustworthy and makes them look as though they are representing the person you thought you were interacting with or doing business with. And then they simply manipulate with a change of wiring instructions or a change of information that leads the victim into sending funds to the wrong place.
AI must make this so much easier to do, to get into your email and, fake an email, whatever. AI must make this so much easier.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, at every step of the way. I mean, the phishing scams have gotten way better and just unlimited amounts of them being released on us across all avenues of our digital lives than the actual email correspondence, the email reading. So they can now just constantly be listening in and being targeted with keywords that say, hey, wire transfer, or something like that. And then the actual impersonation. We used to, in the early days, just a few years ago, we used to have this whole kind of preparation material for you as a leader to say, if you see these types of words or these types of misspellings or things in emails, that's how you're going to know it's fraud. That is all gone. None of that exists anymore. Your ability to actually pick up on the fact that you're communicating with a potential fraudster is nearly impossible.
How did you get into this? How did the company get started?
So my co-founder was and is still today a large title agency owner in the state of Michigan. And he was a lawyer by trade, got into title kind of by chance. And then in 2015, they were communicating with who they thought was the seller in a transaction. Turns out that the seller's email had been compromised and the seller had been completely spoofed by a fraudster, and they wired $200,000 to a fraudulent entity. And he spent the next 18 months going and chasing and following the money, trying to get it back, doing everything that he could. And him and I had actually worked together in a previous life. And he called me and he said, Tyler, this crazy thing happened to me. And, in order for me to continue to run my business, I'm not going to be able to do it unless there is a technology that'll keep my business safe. And I've looked and it doesn't exist. He's like, let's work together. Let's try to build something, because I believe that I was an early victim of a fraud scam that is only going to gain in popularity. And if we don't do something about it, either the industry is going to be at total risk or somebody else is going to build a company to help protect it. So I left my job at BCG and I joined him, and we've been building CertifID ever since.
Without making it a total sales pitch, like, what do you do? Like, how are you protecting against these types of problems?
At its core, this type of fraud is an identity problem. You think you're communicating with somebody who is not. It's somebody who is impersonating somebody else. And so we developed a piece of software that helps you gain trust in your transactions by verifying the identity of everybody involved, confirming and making sure that their bank accounts are their bank accounts, and then ultimately ensuring the transfer of funds. And so what we do is it's kind of like a DocuSign style experience, B to B to C. We have business customers, and then they're utilizing our software to communicate with those other individuals involved in the transaction, gain this sort of confidence and insurance to the transaction, then ultimately move the money, whether it's a buyer sending in an earnest money deposit or a down payment on the home or any disbursement payments. All of that is now possible via our software as well. And then the one other thing that we have in addition to our software is we actually have the nation's leading fraud recovery services team. So because of Tom's experience of going through his own fraud, we had developed a lot of contacts via the Secret Service, via the FBI, and we had just sort of started to realize that there was help needed there for anyone who's ever been a victim. And so our greatest lead funnel in the early days, nobody wanted to stop sending emails with wiring instructions in them and pay us to do it. They were like, wait, hold on. I'm doing this for free. Why am I going to pay you guys to do this? I don't even know what you're talking about. We started to realize that the only people who were interested in our software back in 2017 was anyone who had just been hit with a wire fraud. And we were like, well, the software kind of doesn't work retroactively. And so we started to develop a recovery services team where we would jump in, we would help you contact financial institutions, help you go through some of the legal practices of getting those funds back. And that has now become a cornerstone of our business. And we've actually helped recover now $100 million to date, dollars that were sitting in a fraudster's account or sitting in a Money Mule account. You know, a buyer calls us on the worst day of their life, finding out that their life savings was in the wind. And we've been able to bring back over $100 million.
So look, let's say someone has not retained certified, right? And they have a problem. Like, what do they do? What's the first thing you should do?
So if you have sent funds and you can confirm that they have been sent, to a party that is not the party you were supposed to send them to, the natural first step is to call your financial institution. And you should do that. You should definitely call your financial institution. I will just warn you that your financial institution cannot typically help you. Once the money leaves your account and it's in the other financial institution's account, that's where you got to get to. And that's the really hard part. They don't have any record of you. So now all of a sudden they're trying to figure out, how do I support this person that's telling me they sent me money? And it's not your account that the money's sitting in. There's what's called the FBI IC3. You can go on to their website. You can report a fraud. Unfortunately, I'll tell you right now, they get a complaint every 30 seconds. And so the volume is just so significant. So I actually would urge you to either reach out to a local Secret Service agent and hope that they've done these types of recoveries before and can support. The commercial in me will say, reach out to us. Like, our partnerships and networks with all of these financial institutions, we can go to where the money was sent to. And that's kind of the secret weapon, is you got to get to that money and you got to get to it fast in order to get it back. I would also encourage you, go and talk to your insurance company, because sometimes those companies have services that can then go and help, or that they've done that before. And so a lot of times we see these companies like not want to say anything, not want to raise their hand. They're so nervous that they're going to get in trouble, or there's going to be bad brand reputation risk. And that ultimately makes it worse, because time is of the essence. Like, the vast majority of our recoveries that are successful happen within the first 48 hours.
So I've had experience with wire fraud, both when someone hacked into my account and then also just in speaking with clients. The way transactions are handled is not really accounting for the wire fraud risk. And then when you get into the AI problems and just overall email hacking, I'm sure you guys are going to continue to explode. Thank you for joining Tyler Adams and I on the Weekly Friedman, your source for the most essential information in the default industry. Thanks for tuning in, and looking forward to seeing you next time.